It is not a coincidence that you are here. You may not fully understand it yet, but your soul does. Something deep within you pulled you to this exact moment, and it wasn't by accident. It wasn't a mistake or a random twist of fate. You were guided here because what is coming your way is far greater, far more beautiful, and far more transformative than anything you have ever imagined for yourself. Even if today your vision feels blurred, even if doubt surrounds you, and the weight of exhaustion feels heavier than hope, I want you to know this is not the end of your story. You are standing in an invisible curve of your path, right at that mysterious bend where life quietly begins to shift direction, guiding you towards something brighter. Carl Jung often said that the most powerful transformations begin in the quietest moments. And if lately you felt something stirring inside you, if you sense that your soul is preparing itself for something new, then listen closely. You are not losing control. You are not moving backward. You are being prepared. And what is approaching is more extraordinary than anything your mind has ever dared to picture. But before a new chapter appears, life tends to send subtle messages, spiritual signals, emotional shifts, invisible to the logical mind, but unmistakably clear to the soul. And if any of these signs have been showing up for you, it's because something big is already moving toward your life. Perhaps you felt unusually tired lately, as if something inside you is exhausted from trying, fighting, resisting, forcing. And even if on the surface it looks like defeat, it isn't. This is the very first sign that you are releasing, letting go of what no longer belongs to you, shedding the weight of what you once believed you needed in order to feel worthy. It's as if a part of you whispers, "I can't keep doing this anymore." But that voice is not born from fear. It comes from a wiser part of you, one that understands that peace is never born from control, but from trust. Carl Jung taught that what we deny controls us, but what we accept transforms us. And when you begin to surrender, you are not losing. You're opening yourself to the truth that there is a plan bigger than you, one you may not be able to control, but one you can deeply feel. This surrender is not weakness. It is spiritual maturity. It is the moment when you stop pushing on closed doors and begin allowing yourself to flow toward the ones that open effortlessly, even if you don't yet know where they lead. Maybe you've stopped insisting on certain relationships. Maybe you no longer feel the need to constantly justify yourself. Maybe you've caught yourself saying, "I won't force anything anymore." And that right there, this quiet shift, is growth. It is preparation. Because what is meant for you does not arrive because you chase it. It arrives because you align with it, because you create space within yourself for the unexpected to enter your life without obstacles. This inner surrender is not the end of your path. It is the threshold, the silent doorway through which the new, the authentic, the soul-aligned begins to enter. So if lately you've felt something inside you stop fighting, celebrate it. You are making room. And when there is room, life begins to whisper secrets about what's coming and about who you are becoming. Maybe you've noticed it in the smallest details. That place you once returned to for comfort no longer feels the same. That goal you spent years believing was essential suddenly feels hollow. And it's not that you've lost your way. It's that you're rediscovering yourself. You are no longer allowing the external world to sculpt you. You are beginning to return home, to yourself. It's as if something deep inside is saying, "I no longer need to prove anything." And instead of chasing achievements, you begin to treasure peace, calm, Authenticity. Carl Jung spoke of the individuation process, a profound stage of the soul where you begin to release the masks you once carried and reconcile with your inner truth. And this process often begins with a very clear sensation: the disconnection from who you thought you were. This is not a loss. It is a silent purification that separates what was imposed on you from what genuinely resonates with your essence. Suddenly, you find yourself drawn to silence. You feel less willing to please everyone. You are more attracted to the simple, the sincere, the things that don't need embellishment to feel real. Old ambitions don't disappear out of whim. They dissolve because you no longer need them to feel valuable. What remains is the authentic you. Some people may not understand this shift. Some may judge you. Others may drift away. But that too is a sign. Life is removing what is not aligned so that you can recognize what is. When you begin to value your peace more than your image, when you choose truth even when it is uncomfortable, when you barely recognize the older versions of yourself, it means you are growing. And that growth, even though it happens quietly, is the seed of the new reality coming toward you. Because what is meant for you cannot be built upon who you used to be. It can only come to the version of you that is awake, honest, open, and ready to receive what you truly deserve. It is not a loud thought. It is not a logical argument that convinces you. It is something subtler, a sensation, a persistent intuition that whispers, "This way, yes. This way, no." And the most surprising part is that this voice has always been there. It is only now that you are beginning to hear it clearly, because the noise of the outside world no longer overpowers it, because the opinions of others no longer dictate your direction, because your soul is finally becoming louder than any external argument. That inner voice doesn't shout at you, it doesn't push you, it simply knows. It knows what you need to release. It knows what brings peace to your heart. It knows exactly which paths you should never walk again. Carl Jung called it the wise unconscious, that hidden part of you that stores everything your mind has not yet been able to recognize, but that resonates with what is already true for your soul. And the more you listen to it, the more you begin to understand that intuition is not a vague feeling or a random impulse. It is the universe speaking from within you in a language that only your deeper self can interpret. Sometimes intuition appears as a subtle "don't go," with no explanation to justify it. Other times it shows up as a sudden urge to act, even when you have no guarantees that things will work out. And yet when you follow it, life aligns with a precision and harmony that logic alone could never produce. This awakening of your intuition doesn't mean everything becomes clear or that uncertainty disappears. Instead, it means everything begins to feel more genuine, more aligned, more real. You no longer seek certainty outside yourself because something within you has quietly begun to trust. Maybe you don't know what's coming next. Maybe you can't predict the following steps. But for the first time in a long while, you feel like you're walking toward where you truly need to be. Not out of fear or pressure, but out of a deep inner certainty that no one else can give you. And that certainty is the prelude to everything that is about to unfold in your life. When you begin to align with your intuition, life aligns with you as well. And that alignment is one of the clearest signs that what's coming is greater, deeper, and far more beautiful than anything you have imagined. It's possible that lately you've been feeling as though many things around you are falling apart. Relationships that once felt warm now feel distant. Projects that seemed promising suddenly stagnate. Doors that were once wide open now appear firmly closed. On the surface, all of this may look like loss, like a streak of bad luck, or like an uncomfortable silence. But it's not. It is a space, a sacred interval that life is creating so it can fill it with something completely different. Carl Jung said that emptiness is the place where the soul breathes. And even though we are not used to feeling empty, sometimes it is exactly in that emptiness where the essential begins to unfold. When everything outside comes to a halt, transformation begins within. These moments of emptiness don't appear by mistake. They arrive because you are growing, because you no longer fit in spaces that once held you, because your energy is asking for something deeper, more aligned, more authentically yours. And even though letting go of what was familiar hurts, the soul always knows that you cannot receive the new if you don't create space for it. That is why life begins to remove things from your path, not as punishment, but because what is coming requires cleaner, clearer, more conscious ground. Sometimes the universe removes what you were clinging to, just to remind you that you can live without it. And even more importantly, that you can live with something far more authentic. It is normal to feel uncertainty, and it is normal for fear to appear, but it is also normal and necessary for you to walk through this stretch with faith. Because if certain pieces of your life seem to be disappearing, it is because something much bigger is taking shape behind the scenes. And when it arrives, when the new finally appears, you will understand that all that silence and all that pause was simply the long breath before manifestation. A long breath, yes, but also a deep one, as deep as the gift that is about to unfold on your path. Suddenly, you no longer want to be everywhere. You no longer feel interested in filling your days with plans or holding empty conversations. It's not that you are becoming cold or distant, it's that your soul is entering a state of purification, a silent process in which you need fewer distractions and more truth. You begin to choose more carefully whom you listen to, what you consume, and where you place your energy. And little by little, something becomes clear. You no longer want what merely shines, you want what vibrates. Carl Jung said that one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. And in this stage of your life, you are not withdrawing because you reject the world. You are withdrawing because you are illuminating the parts of yourself that you had stopped looking at. That is why you seek silence. That is why you avoid noise. What once attracted you no longer seduces you, because you are vibrating at a different frequency, cleaner, softer, more in tune with who you truly are. It is as if a part of you whispered, "I don't want more distractions. I want presence." And that doesn't mean you're disconnecting from life. It means you're finally connecting to a life that feels real. In that inner retreat, you begin to hear things you had never noticed. Your body, your intuition, your sensitivity, everything becomes sharper, more profound, more honest. And that is where the magic takes place. When you dare to step away from the noise, life begins to reveal the answers you've been seeking all along. Synchronies begin to intensify. The signs become clearer, and everything that once felt distant now starts moving towards you effortlessly, almost as if life itself were gently rearranging its steps to meet you halfway. You are not running away from the world. You are returning to yourself. And from that inner place, what comes next is not only better than anything you ever imagined, but more authentic than anything you have lived so far. It is not that your life has become perfect, or that every loose end has been tied, but something inside you has shifted in a quiet, undeniable way. And now, instead of focusing on what is missing, you begin to notice the beauty of what already exists. You find yourself appreciating the silence of early mornings. You feel grateful for that song that finds you precisely when you need it. You value that sincere conversation, or even that tear that slipped without anyone noticing and somehow released a weight you didn't know you were still carrying. Without realizing it, you have been healing. Carl Jung spoke of the power of integrating the shadow, but he also emphasized the vital act of rediscovering our inner light. Gratitude, when it rises from the soul, becomes one of the purest ways to reconnect with that light. When you are truly grateful, something inside you aligns. You stop demanding so much from life and begin walking with it instead of against it. And it is precisely at that moment, when your heart opens without conditions, that life surprises you, because you are no longer vibrating from scarcity, but from fullness. And what you radiate is exactly what the universe mirrors back to you. That perfect reflection of your inner world responds to your most authentic energy. And when you look at it through the lens of love, it returns that love multiplied. This is why, when you give thanks for the small things, life rushes to show you the bigger ones. That smile you shared without expecting anything, that call you made simply to check on someone, that moment of honesty with yourself that changed your entire direction. Everything adds up. Everything speaks. Everything creates. And right there, in the middle of the ordinary, life begins to reveal its magic, not through spectacle, but through the invisible, the profound, the eternal. That is the sign. When something inside you stops fighting and starts trusting, what arrives is no longer just another repetition of the past. It is another frequency, another story, another life unfolding before you. And yes, it is better than anything you had ever dared to dream. It is not euphoria, nor an overwhelming burst of emotion, nor naive optimism. It is something else entirely. It is a warm stillness, a new kind of peace, a sensation almost impossible to describe, as if a deep part of you has already seen the future and whispers softly, "Hold on, it's already on its way." There are no visible proofs yet, no external confirmations, and yet you feel it with every breath, with every small step you take, and that changes everything. Because now, you stop searching for signs outside and begin recognizing the ones that arise from within. You no longer need the world to validate your path, because an inner force sustains your faith with quiet strength. Jung said, "The soul holds within itself the patterns of the future," and that often, long before something arrives in the physical world, the unconscious has already received it. That is why we sometimes dream of things that haven't yet happened, or feel nostalgia for places, people, or moments we haven't lived. Your soul has already touched that future, and that is why, even in the middle of uncertainty, you sense a strange kind of certainty. It's not about having everything figured out. It's about trusting the direction, even when the map is not yet complete. That trust becomes a silent vibration that connects you with what is coming. And what awaits you when you trust from that inner place cannot be anything but a blessing, because you no longer walk from need, but from purpose. You no longer ask from a place of lack, but from deep worthiness. And when the soul vibrates from that space, life responds with a perfect symphony. People appearing at the right moment, opportunities you weren't looking for, but that feel like they were designed for you, answers arriving in the middle of silence. What you have been waiting for, what your soul has been longing for, that unnamed thing that feels close even though you can't yet see it. It is on its way, and it will be wiser, more beautiful, more meaningful, and more aligned with who you truly are. Now that you feel that soft certainty within you, it's time to understand something essential. Deep transformation is not a sudden event. It is a gradual unfolding that moves at its own rhythm. Every day, every experience, every shift in your perspective is a silent step toward the new reality that is preparing to meet you. There may still be days when doubt knocks at your door, when uncertainty feels louder than faith, but that too is part of the journey. Because within that internal contrast between the old and the new is where your soul shapes itself and grows stronger. Carl Jung taught that the doorway to perception lies within, and that to enter a new world, we must first pass through the shadows of the past, the resistances, the fears, and the beliefs that once kept us small. This is the moment to be patient with yourself, to observe without judgment, and to honor every emotion that rises, because everything plays a role in this journey. Remember, what is coming for you is better than you imagined, not because your external reality will simply change, but because you are being reborn from within. It is a rebirth that invites you to live with more authenticity, more peace, more love for yourself and for others. You may look back and realize that the person you once were no longer fits who you are now. And that is perfectly fine. It is the sign that you are evolving, that your soul is awakening, and that you are ready to receive everything you deserve. So keep moving forward with hope, with faith, and with the profound certainty that the best is arriving. Because what is coming will not just exceed your expectations, it will transform your life in a way only the soul can truly understand. On this path, you will also begin to notice that synchronies increase, as if the universe itself were conspiring in your favor. Those coincidences you once ignored now become loud and clear signals. An unexpected encounter that brings you exactly what you needed. A phrase in a book or a message that appears at the perfect moment. An idea that surfaces in the stillness, as if someone or something were guiding your steps from behind the scenes. This flow of coincidences is not magic or random luck. It is the evidence that you are aligned with your true path. Carl Jung spoke of synchronicity, the meaningful connection between events that lack an apparent causal relationship, but that hold deep personal significance for you. And when these signs begin to appear more frequently, it is not the world that has changed. It is you. Your perception has expanded, your energy has elevated, and your soul is finally attuned to the frequency of the life that belongs to you. When you begin to live in harmony with that current, life becomes less confusing, more fluid, and far more filled with purpose. It's not that difficulties vanish, but you learn to see them as part of the fabric guiding you toward your destiny. Every challenge, every pause, every step forward is a note in the melody of your transformation. And what's remarkable is that the more you trust that flow, the easier it becomes to stay calm in the middle of the storm, because you know everything has meaning, even if you don't fully understand it yet, and it's normal for internal resistance to surface during this process. Sometimes your mind will search for reasons to doubt, to stop you, to convince you that what is familiar, even if imperfect, feels safer. This inner dialogue can feel like a battle, the voice of old security facing the call of change. But remember, this resistance is not an enemy. It is a sign that you are stepping out of your comfort zone. Carl Jung taught us that growth happens precisely in that uncomfortable space where the familiar dissolves to make room for the unknown. That is why, when you feel fear or uncertainty, do not punish yourself or run from those feelings. Invite them to sit with you. Observe them with curiosity, because in that conscious observation lies the key to transcending them. Every time you move through those moments with presence, you become stronger, wiser, and more aligned with yourself. This path is neither linear nor perfect. There will be days when you feel full of light, and others when the shadow seems to cover everything. But all of it is part of the journey. Each step, each fall, each time you rise again, is leading you toward that better reality, deeper and more authentic, that is waiting for you. Trust in your ability to navigate these waters, because within you there is an ancient wisdom sustaining you, a silent strength that will never abandon you. And when you least expect it, you will realize that the better you imagined is already here within you, in every change and every awakening. You will also begin to notice that your perception of time is shifting. You no longer see time as an enemy racing ahead, nor as a chain tying you to a past you cannot change. Instead, you start to experience time as an ally, a sacred space where every moment has its purpose and its gift. This new relationship with time allows you to be more present, more attentive to the subtle signs life offers you. Carl Jung spoke about the importance of the present moment as the doorway to personal realization, because only in the now can you connect with that force pushing you forward, and you will discover that each moment is an opportunity to grow and to love. And finally, you will learn to live from gratitude. You will also begin to uncover a new sense of purpose that is more authentic and profound. Not a purpose imposed by others, nor the ideals that once persuaded you, but that inner call urging you to be more yourself, to live with integrity and meaning. Carl Jung said that finding our purpose is discovering the language of the soul, a truth that transcends words and expectations. This new purpose may not appear grand or spectacular to the world, but it will feel immense to you, because it will be aligned with your essence. And as you connect with it, you will feel a renewed energy, a strength that holds you even on difficult days. It is not a path without obstacles, but it is a path full of meaning. When you live from that place, what comes next no longer depends on chance or luck, but on the coherence between who you are and what you do. This prepares you to receive blessings you did not expect, to open doors that seemed closed, and to create a life that truly resonates with you. What comes then is not just an external improvement. It is a complete transformation that embraces your mind, your heart, and your spirit. And that transformation is undoubtedly far better than anything you once imagined. This process also leads you to build a new relationship with yourself, one based on respect and genuine love. Before, you may have sought approval outside, tried to fit into molds that never belonged to you, and forgot to truly listen to yourself. But now, you begin to discover the strength that appears when you honor who you are, with your light and your shadow, your victories and your mistakes, your dreams and your fears. Carl Jung taught that integrating every part of our being is essential for true healing and growth. When you learn to accept and love yourself deeply, you create an inner space where your authenticity can bloom. From that place, what comes next can only be genuine, because it arises from the most truthful connection you can ever have with yourself. That new relationship you are building with yourself allows you to release toxic patterns, paralyzing doubts, and the endless self-pressure that once held you captive. You begin to stand beside yourself in a way you never did before. You become your greatest ally, the voice that encourages you when exhaustion takes over, and the steady force that keeps you grounded when the path feels difficult. And by embracing this new version of you, you naturally open the doors to receive what is truly meant for you, because now you finally recognize that you deserve the best. As this shift unfolds, everything that comes your way becomes a reflection of that deep self-love, of that inner peace that quietly settles within you, and of the light inside you that grows stronger day after day. In this same process, you will also notice a transformation in the way you relate to others. You will no longer approach people seeking validation, comfort, or the security you once depended on. Instead, you will show up with authenticity, emotional freedom, and a sense of inner wholeness that reshapes every connection. Your relationships begin to change. They become more sincere, more transparent, and more aligned with your true vibration. You naturally gravitate toward people who feel familiar at a soul level, people who resonate with your energy rather than drain it. Carl Jung taught us that real connections are mirrors. They reflect our inner world and inspire us to grow, not shrink. They help us expand rather than keep us locked in a version of ourselves that no longer feels alive. That is why, as you continue evolving, you will witness some relationships dissolving because their purpose has already been fulfilled, while new ones will arrive to nourish your spirit. This transition can feel painful at first. Letting go always does, but it is necessary so that life can place before you the relationships and experiences that match who you are becoming. When your bonds are built on mutual respect, authenticity, and emotional clarity, everything begins to flow more effortlessly. This new kind of connection is one of the clearest signs that what awaits you is far deeper and more meaningful than you ever imagined. It's no longer about simply having company. It's about being aligned with souls who walk beside you in your evolution. And finally, something essential is awakening within you, a profound sense of hope. Not a fleeting or fragile hope, but one rooted in the certainty that life has a purpose for you, and that this purpose is beginning to reveal itself in subtle and powerful ways. Carl Jung often said that hope is the light in the human soul that never goes out, the quiet flame that survives the storms of the psyche. That light is what guides you during moments of darkness, what keeps your faith alive when the road ahead feels uncertain. As you move forward through this inner transformation, that light grows brighter. It invites you to look ahead with courage, openness, and trust. Even if you cannot see every detail of what the future holds, you feel a quiet assurance that each step, every challenge, every breakthrough is leading you exactly where your soul longs to be. This hope becomes the invisible engine of your transformation, connecting you with the promise that what lies ahead is far greater than what you once imagined. So today, allow yourself to embrace that hope. Let it illuminate your path, soften your fears, and prepare you to receive all the good that life has been saving for you. Because what is coming is extraordinary, and you are finally ready to receive it with an open heart and an awakened mind. What awaits you is bigger, more authentic, and more beautiful than anything you have ever pictured for yourself. This isn't just an external change. It is the inner transformation that aligns you with your true essence. Trust the process. Trust your ability to evolve. Trust the deep wisdom that lives within your soul. The universe is aligning every detail so that the best arrives at the perfect moment. Thank you for sharing this journey of awakening and hope with me. Remember, you are not walking this path alone. Every step you take is guiding you closer to the life you deserve. Protect your heart, honor your path, and keep listening to that inner voice that has always known the way. If this message resonated with you, consider sharing it with someone who needs these words today. Subscribe to the channel so we can continue exploring these paths of growth and awakening together. And feel free to leave your thoughts below. Which of these signs are you experiencing right now? Your story may be the light someone else needs as they walk through their own transformation. Remember, what is coming your way is far better than you imagine. Trust the process, because the best is on its way to you. See you in the next one. When someone ignores you, your first instinct is to seek their attention. Panic sets in, and you feel an urgent need to do something, anything, to make that person see you, respond to you, validate you. And this is where the fatal mistake happens, acting from desperation. You don't realize that at that very moment, you have lost control over yourself. You have handed over your emotional power to the other person. This isn't just a reflection of an unresolved inner wound. It's also the very reason why the other person often pulls away even more. Carl Jung taught that the human psyche is governed by unconscious processes that make us repeat the same patterns over and over until we become aware of them. If you react with anxiety when someone ignores you, it's because, deep inside, there is a fear of abandonment that has not been confronted. And this fear, instead of bringing you closer to the other person, traps you in your own emotions. The need for approval and the urgency to be seen lead you to behave in ways that, instead of attracting, actually repel. When you chase after someone who is pulling away, you send an energetic message of lack. You are essentially saying, "I am not enough without your validation." And the other person's unconscious mind picks up on this. No matter how hard you try to convince them, to prove your worth, or to make them acknowledge your existence, if your energy is coming from fear, emptiness, and dependency, the effect will be the exact opposite. The real problem is that we live believing that love and attention from others define us. But in reality, what truly defines us is the relationship we have with ourselves. Jung called this process individuation, the journey through which a human being becomes whole, without depending on external factors to feel complete. And this is where the paradox unfolds. When you stop desperately seeking someone's attention, that person unconsciously begins to notice your absence, not because you are playing some kind of mind game, but because your energy has shifted. You have stopped projecting neediness and have started reconnecting with yourself. And that is the real key. What truly attracts people is not insistence, not pressure, but authenticity and inner solidity. And to reach that point, there is something you must do before anything else. Stop fighting against the shadow within you. When someone ignores you, what hurts the most is not their absence, but the meaning you give to their indifference. You feel like you are not valuable enough, like you did something wrong, or that there is something within you that doesn't deserve to be seen. But all of this is nothing more than a projection of your own shadow. Carl Jung explained that the shadow is the part of ourselves that we repress because it conflicts with the image we want to project to the world. And when someone ignores us, that shadow is activated. It forces us to face the fear of being invisible, rejected, or abandoned. If you haven't integrated that part of yourself, you will react from the wound. That's when you rush to send a message, when you anxiously check their last online status, when you search for signs that they still care. But none of this is love. It's fear disguised as desire. And the more you act from fear, the more you show that you are not in control of yourself. What you truly need to do is the exact opposite of what your instincts tell you. Instead of running after that person, instead of trying to force a reaction, what really works is stepping into a state of detachment. Not because you are giving up on them, but because you understand that your worth does not depend on someone else's attention. And when you achieve this, something fascinating happens. The dynamic shifts. Jung spoke of psychic synchronization, the idea that energies align when a person's internal state changes. If you stop needing someone's validation, they will sense it, even if you don't see immediate results. When you disappear from their radar, when you no longer act from a place of lack, that person begins to wonder why you're no longer there. Why has your energy changed? But this process only works if you truly let go of the need for a response. If you do it hoping that the person will return, you are still trapped in the same cycle. What you need is not strategic absence, but inner presence. You need to become someone who does not depend on external reactions to feel whole. That is why, the next time you feel the urge to insist, stop. Observe what is truly happening within you. Ask yourself, is it love that I feel, or is it fear? Because if it is fear, the only way to break the pattern is not by getting the other person's attention, but by facing what you have been avoiding within yourself. True transformation happens when you do this, when instead of acting from anxiety, you act from the certainty of your own worth. When you stop chasing and instead become the center of your own world. And when this happens, the game changes completely. When someone ignores you, what is truly at stake is not your connection with that person, but the relationship you have with yourself. Jung said that most of our external conflicts are actually reflections of unresolved inner struggles. And when you experience rejection or indifference, what gets triggered in your unconscious mind is a story you have lived before, even if you don't consciously remember it. Maybe, during your childhood, there were moments when you felt invisible. Perhaps, at some point in your life, you learned that to be loved, you had to work harder, prove more, do more. And now, when someone ignores you, you revert to that childlike state where you believe that if you just insist enough, if you just try hard enough, they will finally see you. But this is a trap of the mind. The more you try to be seen, the more you reinforce the idea that you are not enough on your own. Jung explained that the unconscious mind does not distinguish between what is real and what is symbolic. If you feel that you are not valuable without someone's attention, your mind will take it as an absolute truth and will reinforce that pattern again and again. But if instead you take that person's indifference as an opportunity to strengthen your own worth, to rediscover yourself, to expand, then you will have taken the first step toward deep transformation. This is where many people fail. Instead of using the distance to grow, they use it to obsess even more. They fall into a spiral of repetitive thoughts, imagining scenarios, searching for explanations, desperately looking for any sign that there is still hope. But what they don't realize is that, in doing so, they are wasting their energy on something they cannot control. And the more you focus on the other person, the less energy you have for yourself. The secret is not to ignore someone who ignores you out of revenge, nor to play with absence as a strategy of manipulation. The real change happens when you no longer need another person's presence to feel whole. When you understand that your value does not depend on whether someone decides to see you or not, that is when the other person, on an unconscious level, begins to perceive something different in you. It's not magic. It's not a seduction tactic. It's a simple psychological reality. Attraction arises when there is balance, and a person who is not desperate to be seen, who does not beg for attention, who does not revolve their world around someone else, becomes magnetic. But this change must be real. If you do it just to get a reaction, if you are still clinging to the hope that the other person will come back, you are still projecting neediness, and the cycle will repeat itself once again. One of the greatest emotional challenges we face as human beings is the fear of being ignored. It strikes directly at the ego, wounds self-esteem, and often triggers deep insecurities we didn't even realize we had. When someone ignores us, our mind instinctively tries to fill the void with explanations, crafting all kinds of scenarios in an attempt to make sense of the situation. We start wondering if we said something wrong, if we did something to push them away, if we should have acted differently. We begin questioning ourselves to the point of convincing ourselves that somehow we are at fault. And in that process, without even realizing it, we give the other person a power they do not deserve. They are no longer just someone who took a step back. Now, they have control over our emotions, our mental peace, and even our sense of self-worth. Carl Jung taught us that the human mind is a constant battlefield between the conscious and the unconscious. One of the biggest traps we fall into is projecting our own fears onto others. When someone ignores us, the pain we feel is not just about their absence. It is about what that absence represents in our psyche. It is the activation of a deep-seated fear. The fear of not being important enough, of not being worthy of attention, love, or recognition. But here's the truth. When someone chooses to ignore you, it is not always about you. There are countless reasons why a person may distance themselves, and most of those reasons have more to do with their own internal struggles than with anything you have done. However, the problem is that most people don't see it this way. They take indifference as a personal offense, as proof of their inadequacy, when in reality, it is simply a sign that the other person is fighting their own internal battle. And this is where your true power lies. Instead of getting trapped in uncertainty, instead of trying to figure out what is going on in the other person's mind, you can use this moment to reclaim your energy, to shift the focus back onto yourself. Instead of wasting your thoughts on someone who is not giving you their time, you can redirect that energy toward your own growth and strength. A common mistake people make is trying to fill the silence with more words, more attempts, more gestures to prove their worth. But in reality, what creates the most impact is doing the opposite, disappearing with purpose, not as a strategy, not to punish the other person, but because you understand that you cannot force a connection with someone who is not willing to have one. And something fascinating happens at this moment. When you stop being available, when you disappear from their radar, the other person begins to notice your absence, not because you are manipulating them, but because your energy has shifted. You are no longer projecting desperation. You are no longer sending the signal that you need to be seen, and what once seemed certain, your presence, your interest, your availability, now becomes an unknown. This is often the moment when the person who ignored you starts seeking you out again, not because you played a game, but because the energy has changed. What was easy to ignore now feels like an emptiness. But here's the key. By the time this happens, you will have changed as well. You will no longer be waiting. You will no longer be in the same emotional space. When the person who ignored you finally decides to come back, it is natural to feel a mix of emotions. There may be relief, but also deep unease. Their return is a test of the transformation you have undergone. This is the moment to reaffirm your own path without falling back into old dynamics. It is not about reacting impulsively or allowing the past to dictate the present. It is about staying aligned with the new version of yourself, one that has grown stronger through self-awareness and inner work. In these moments, your subconscious may try to pull you back into old patterns, those where your validation depended entirely on the presence and approval of the other person. But if you have learned to recognize and integrate this shadow, you will know that true growth lies in responding with calmness and inner security. This is not about closing the door to reconciliation, but about doing so from a place of personal power, where you are no longer trying to fill a void or compensate for old wounds. The key is to consciously observe your emotions. Allow yourself to feel everything that arises without judgment, without rushing into actions that could undo all the progress you have made. It is in these moments of reconnection that your inner wisdom must guide you. Ask yourself, am I reacting out of fear or out of certainty in my own worth? Am I allowing the past to pull me back, or am I fully present in the here and now, making decisions from a place of integrity? Every answer to these questions brings you closer to the authentic integration of your shadow, to the individuation process that Jung saw as essential for a truly fulfilling life. If you ever feel tempted to fall back into old patterns, remember that every experience is a lesson. The return of a certain person into your life is not merely a coincidence. It is an opportunity. It may serve as a chance to rebuild the relationship from a new, healthier perspective, or as a moment to reaffirm your emotional independence. What truly matters is that, no matter the circumstances, you do not compromise your inner peace or sacrifice your authenticity in pursuit of external validation. Your worth is not defined by whether someone stays or leaves. Rather, it is measured by your ability to remain steadfast in your essence, even when external situations challenge your sense of stability. Each step you take towards solidifying your personal power is a victory over past insecurities. It is a testament to the fact that true freedom is found in the harmony between your conscious and unconscious worlds. As the emotional turbulence of a reunion settles and a newfound sense of calm begins to emerge, you reach the next stage of your transformation, the consolidation of your growth and the establishment of relationships rooted in authenticity and healthy boundaries. No longer are you reacting impulsively to every action or absence. Instead, you have developed a deeper awareness that allows you to see every experience, every moment of silence, every distant glance, as a teacher guiding you toward greater self-knowledge. From this evolved state of consciousness, every interaction becomes an opportunity to reinforce your emotional independence. You have come to understand that the need for external validation does not define your worth. Thus, the way you respond to silence or indifference is no longer a desperate attempt to seek approval, but a reflection of your commitment to your own growth. Rather than filling any perceived void with old patterns of fear or desperation, you now have the power to nurture your inner world and strengthen the connection you have with yourself, an unshakable foundation upon which all authenticity is built. The process of inner transformation is neither immediate nor linear. It is a journey filled with highs and lows. Every setback, no matter how small, presents an opportunity to rise again with greater wisdom. It is crucial to allow yourself to feel without judgment, recognizing that every emotion, no matter how intense, is a vital part of the journey toward the full integration of your being. The key is to observe without attachment, to learn from every experience without allowing fear to dictate your actions. True transformation also involves setting clear boundaries that protect your energy. By integrating the lessons of your past shadows, you come to realize that you are under no obligation to tolerate behaviors that perpetuate emotional dependency. You learn to say no when necessary and to prioritize what truly nourishes and propels you forward. This act of self-care becomes the foundation for healthier relationships, connections where both individuals can grow without falling into destructive cycles. Each time you choose to act from a place of authenticity, from the inner strength you have cultivated, you send a powerful message to the universe and to those around you. Your worth is not dependent on external approval, and your inner peace is unshakable. It is within this renewed vibration that the true magic unfolds. This is not about manipulation or carefully calculated strategies. It is about a genuine transformation in how you exist in the world. Over time, you will begin to notice how new doors open effortlessly. The people who truly resonate with your essence will be drawn to you naturally, while those who once thrived on your dependency will fade into the past. This process of natural selection allows you to surround yourself with relationships that add value to your life, enrich your experiences, and encourage your continued evolution. Every step you take toward inner balance, every decision you make in favor of your well-being, reinforces the internal message that you are enough, exactly as you are. And that certainty, that deep-rooted confidence in your own being, is the foundation upon which authentic relationships are built. Learning to let go of what no longer serves you is not an act of weakness. It is an act of profound wisdom. It is the realization that true power lies in your ability to choose what nourishes your soul and to release what only depletes you. As you continue to walk this path, you will recognize that silence and indifference, though painful at first, are actually invitations to reconnect with yourself. They are signs that, on some level, a disconnection has occurred, one that needs to be healed, and that healing does not come from seeking answers externally, but from exploring the vast inner universe that has always been within you. The challenge is to transform every experience of rejection into an opportunity for growth, to learn how to love in a more whole and conscious way. In doing so, you free yourself from the weight of emotional dependency and, in turn, become a source of inspiration for those around you. Your ability to face indifference with dignity and serenity becomes a beacon of light, proving that the path to true fulfillment is not found in external approval, but in the unwavering strength of your own soul. It all lies in the integration of every part of your being. Every encounter, Every absence, every moment of solitude or connection becomes a brushstroke in the grand painting of your existence. Together, these experiences shape the portrait of a complete being, one capable of loving unconditionally and living in true harmony with themselves. This journey is not easy. It is filled with challenges, moments of doubt, and times when you may question your path. But it is also profoundly enriching. Along the way, you will come to understand that true transformation does not come from seeking outside validation or chasing what appears to be missing. Instead, it arises when you recognize that everything you have ever needed has always been within you. Reaching this realization is a pivotal moment. You begin to see that every experience, every silence, every reunion, every moment of pain or joy has been part of a greater process, the discovery of your inner power. When you shift your perspective and transform rejection into an opportunity for growth, you not only reconnect with yourself on a deeper level, but you also open the door to more authentic and fulfilling relationships. What once seemed like a painful situation reveals itself as a powerful lesson in self-acceptance and resilience. You come to understand that your worth is not defined by external validation, but by the unshakable strength that resides in the deepest parts of your being. And it is in this realization that true liberation begins. The journey toward integrating your shadow and strengthening your authenticity is not a lonely one. It is an invitation to explore, to learn, to share. Each time you choose to act from a place of inner peace and self-awareness, you send a powerful message to the universe and to those around you. It is through this genuine exchange of energy and truth that true transformation takes root. Because when you become a beacon of light for yourself, you inspire others to do the same. Your presence, your growth, and your willingness to embrace your full self create a ripple effect, encouraging others to embark on their own journey of self-discovery and empowerment. I invite you to share your thoughts in the comments, to join this community of growth, and to spread this message to those who need to hear it. True strength lies in embracing the totality of who we are. Every interaction, every like, every comment not only amplifies this message, but also contributes to the creation of a space where we can all learn to transform pain into power, silence into wisdom, and indifference into opportunities for change. Remember, real transformation begins within. It is not about searching outside for something you have always carried inside. It is about uncovering that latent force within you, the one that allows you to live fully, authentically, and with purpose. Share this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you can continue receiving content that inspires you to look within and transform your life. Together, we can reach countless people and build a movement of change and self-awareness that illuminates the path for those seeking deeper meaning in their relationships and in their own existence. Thank you for being part of this journey and for inspiring others to discover their true potential. It can be difficult to identify at first. Perhaps you find yourself trapped in a relationship that, while it may seem perfect at times, leaves you with an inexplicable feeling of emptiness. Over and over again, your intuition tells you that something is not quite right, but you can't pinpoint exactly what it is. This is one of the greatest challenges in any romantic relationship. How to recognize what truly matters, how to identify what should never be tolerated, and how to connect with the truth of your being. Carl Jung, the influential Swiss psychologist, believed that our relationships serve as a mirror, reflecting the hidden aspects of ourselves. If we are unaware of the concealed elements of our psyche, the parts of us that reside in our shadow, then we are at risk of repeating destructive patterns without even realizing it. For Jung, the shadow is not just an abstract concept, it is an integral part of who we are, a part that we often refuse to see, but that is always present, waiting to be acknowledged. This shadow is made up of everything we deny, everything we avoid confronting within ourselves. When we project our shadow onto others, we tend to see in them the things we do not want to recognize in ourselves. And this is what can lead us to tolerate behaviors that should never be tolerated in a romantic relationship. Perhaps you have found yourself accepting abusive, dismissive, or simply negligent behavior, thinking that love must endure everything, or that it is your responsibility to change the other person. Jung would tell us that this is a profound mistake, because when we allow others to treat us this way, what we are really doing is projecting our own shadow. In other words, we are accepting aspects of ourselves that we are unwilling to face. It is essential to recognize that your worth does not depend on what others do or say. If a relationship drains your energy, if it forces you to stop being who you truly are, then it is not a relationship you should tolerate. A true and healthy connection with another human being is based on mutual respect, the acknowledgement of each other's authenticity, and support for one another's growth, not in sacrificing who you are. Think about the moments when you have allowed your energy to be drained. Perhaps it was not something obvious. Maybe it was a small manipulation, a hurtful comment disguised as a joke, or a broken promise. Over time, these small moments accumulate, and what was once a spark of discomfort turns into a wildfire that consumes your inner peace. According to Jung, this is a clear indication that you are not aligned with your true self, your deepest essence. Every time you allow something like this to happen, you take one more step away from your authenticity. In this transformative process, Jung emphasized taking radical responsibility for our role in relationships. This is not about blaming the other person, but about understanding why we choose to tolerate certain behaviors. Jung asserted that the key to personal growth lies in facing our shadows, those aspects of ourselves that we fear recognizing. When we integrate our shadows, we stop projecting them onto others and begin to make wiser decisions that align with our inner truth. So, what should you never tolerate in a romantic relationship? Anything that makes you feel like you are not enough as you are. Anything that puts your inner peace in constant jeopardy. Anything that makes you forget who you are and what you are worth. Healthy relationships are not built on continuous sacrifice or on making you feel that you must change yourself to fit in. In a truly fulfilling relationship, both individuals have the space to be who they are, to grow without losing themselves in the process. It is easy to fall into the trap of thinking that love must be unconditional, that we must tolerate everything, that it is our responsibility to change others to make a relationship work. But Jung taught us that this is not just a mistake, it is a form of denial of our own authenticity. Romantic relationships should be a dance between two complete human beings, not a battle to save what was never meant to be saved. There is something incredibly powerful that happens when you allow yourself to say no to what is hurting you, even when it feels difficult. It is an act of self-love. It is a reminder that your well-being is the most important thing, and that you should never tolerate a relationship that makes you feel like you are less than you truly are. When you allow a relationship to consume you, to make you feel unworthy or undeserving of love, you are unknowingly validating the projection of your own shadow onto the other person. And what you fail to realize is that this projection is a wound that only you can heal. Carl Jung believed that the unconscious mind holds immense power over our thoughts, behaviors, and most significantly, our relationships. Without even realizing it, we often find ourselves caught in repetitive cycles, patterns that echo past experiences, particularly those rooted in unresolved trauma. These internal wounds, left unhealed, quietly steer our choices, leading us to form connections with people who may harm us emotionally, psychologically, or even physically. And we may not understand why it keeps happening, why, despite our desire for love and harmony, we end up in relationships that bring us pain. So how do you recognize that this invisible influence is at play? The answer is in the repetition. When you find yourself living through the same emotional suffering again and again, despite the faces being different, the underlying story feels painfully familiar. It's like déjà vu, but it's not just a trick of memory. It's a signal, a clear message from your inner self telling you that something within needs to be acknowledged, healed, and transformed. This is why the first step toward building healthier, more fulfilling relationships isn't about fixing the other person. It's not about making your partner change or hoping they'll suddenly treat you better. The journey starts within. You must begin by turning inward, by looking at yourself with honesty and compassion. Jung taught that true transformation begins when we are willing to face our own inner darkness, not to fight it or deny it, but to understand it. And no, it's not easy. In fact, it's one of the most challenging things you'll ever do. It's far more comfortable to look the other way, to avoid the mirror, to keep moving through life without asking too many questions, without digging into the layers of pain and memory that live inside you. But it is this very self-awareness, this deep, often uncomfortable confrontation with yourself, that becomes your most powerful tool for growth. It's what helps you recognize what you should never tolerate again, because the way others treat you is often a reflection of how you treat yourself. If you constantly allow someone to disrespect your boundaries, if you accept neglect, cruelty, or emotional manipulation as part of love, your unconscious mind starts to believe a dangerous lie. I am not worthy of love. I do not deserve respect. And this belief, though silent, begins to shape your reality. At first, these transgressions may seem small, almost insignificant. A hurtful comment, a cold glance, a dismissive gesture. You tell yourself it's not a big deal. You rationalize it. But over time, these seemingly minor moments accumulate. And what they erode is not just the relationship, but your self-esteem, your confidence, your ability to trust yourself and make healthy decisions. That's why it's crucial to understand this. Your worth does not depend on how someone else treats you. Your value is not negotiable. It is not something another person can take away, diminish, or validate. It is intrinsic. It is yours. And no relationship, no matter how intense or familiar, should ever make you feel like you're less than enough. Jung reminds us that the people we are drawn to, the relationships we engage in, are often mirrors. They reflect not only the state of our inner world, but also the lessons we still need to learn. If you find yourself repeatedly involved in relationships marked by conflict, emotional coldness, or manipulation, it's not just bad luck. It's a message, a lesson trying to break through the noise. Something inside you needs your attention. This is the time to ask difficult questions, to confront the choices you've made and examine the roots of your patterns. Why do you allow behaviors that hurt you? Why do you stay when everything in you screams to leave? Why do you give love to those who don't reciprocate or respect it? The answers to these questions are rarely simple, but they are always revealing. Often, the truth lies buried beneath years of fear. Fear of abandonment, fear of rejection, fear of not being enough. Or it hides behind limiting beliefs that were handed to you in childhood, shaped by the people who raised you, or by early experiences that told you love had to be earned through suffering. But here's the truth. Healing begins when you learn to say no to what hurts you. When you draw the line, not in anger, but in love for yourself. When you choose not to settle, not to shrink, not to sacrifice your peace for the sake of temporary company. That decision, to honor your boundaries and walk away from anything that doesn't serve your well-being, is an act of immense courage. It means you are ready to be alone, if necessary, rather than remain in situations that deplete you. It means you understand that solitude is far less painful than a connection that drains your soul. It means you're choosing yourself. This is how self-respect is built, not in theory, but in practice. And every time you say no to pain, you're also saying yes to something greater. You're saying yes to love that nurtures, to relationships rooted in truth, not fear, to the possibility of connection that uplifts rather than diminishes. And when you operate from this space, when you truly believe in your worth and live by it, you begin to attract differently. You stop repeating the same cycles because you've changed the script. You no longer feel drawn to people who mirror your wounds. Instead, you resonate with those who reflect your healing. That is the essence of Jung's wisdom, that the outer world shifts only when the inner world transforms. And while the process is never easy, it is always worth it, because on the other side of that transformation lies a version of you that is whole, empowered, and finally free. And that version of you will no longer confuse pain with love. It will no longer chase what wounds. It will no longer settle for less. Instead, it will choose peace. It will choose truth. And above all, it will choose love. The real kind. The kind that begins within. According to Carl Jung, love should never require you to lose your essence. In a healthy relationship, love is nourished by mutual respect, genuine acceptance, and shared growth. There is no need for you to sacrifice who you are or to disappear within yourself just to make someone else feel comfortable or satisfied. Real love doesn't demand self-abandonment. On the contrary, it invites authenticity. As you begin the journey of self-discovery and liberation, you'll notice how the nature of your relationships starts to shift. People who truly respect your boundaries, your energy, and your essence will begin to gravitate toward you naturally. Meanwhile, those who are not aligned with your true self, those who can't meet you at your level of awareness, will begin to fade from your life without you needing to push them away. This is the power of synchronicity, one of Jung's most profound concepts. Synchronicity is not just a philosophical idea. It's a reality that unfolds when you align with your authentic self. It's what happens when you stop chasing outside validation and begin to recognize that everything you need is already within you. There's something incredibly liberating about no longer needing to be someone you're not, simply to be accepted or loved. The journey of healing and self-liberation is not something that occurs overnight. It's a slow, often uncomfortable process that requires patience, gentleness, and above all, deep self-love. But as you begin to make decisions that are truly aligned with your inner truth, you will start to feel more empowered, more grounded, and more capable of cultivating relationships that truly nurture your soul. You'll begin to recognize red flags long before a connection becomes emotionally draining. You'll develop a heightened awareness of what you truly need in order to feel fulfilled. And you'll stop ignoring those subtle inner cues, the gut feelings, the quiet warnings from within that have always been trying to guide you. Jung taught us that we must not only listen to others, but also to ourselves, to that inner voice we so often silence out of fear or the desire to maintain peace. Ignoring this voice can lead to repeated patterns of pain and emotional entrapment. It is essential that you pay attention when something feels off, when a relationship starts asking more from you than you're able or willing to give, without offering you the same in return. A loving relationship is not supposed to be a battlefield. True love is not a constant struggle. If you constantly feel like you're walking on eggshells, if the connection feels like unstable ground, chances are you're tolerating something you shouldn't be. Jung believed we should seek out relationships that encourage us to grow, that challenge us to become the best version of ourselves, but not at the cost of our essence. If you ever feel like your soul is being suffocated, that your spirit is shrinking around someone else, it's a clear signal that something vital is being ignored. The key to recognizing when a relationship has become intolerable lies in our ability to see ourselves with brutal honesty. It's very easy to justify things when we're emotionally invested in someone. We tell ourselves that things will get better, that the other person will change, that we just need to hold on a little longer. But these rationalizations are often subtle ways of avoiding the truth. A relationship that consistently makes you feel like you're not enough, or worse, that demands you abandon yourself to maintain peace, is not worth your time or your energy. Jung also emphasized the importance of individuation, the lifelong process of becoming our most authentic selves. This means being loyal to who we are at our core, not who others want or expect us to be. It's absolutely vital not to sacrifice your authenticity out of fear. Fear of loneliness, fear of rejection, fear of stepping into the unknown. Walking away from what no longer serves you is an act of bravery. It's a declaration of self-worth. Becoming who you truly are requires courage. Relationships should be sacred spaces where both individuals feel safe, seen, supported, and deeply respected for who they truly are. If you find that you constantly have to edit or shrink yourself just to be accepted, if you feel like you can't express your truth or be genuine, then something is fundamentally wrong. This isn't about perfection. It's about mutual acceptance and unconditional love. And when that's missing, when a relationship makes you feel like you need to hide parts of yourself in order to be loved, it's likely that something toxic is slowly taking root. A loving relationship should be a safe place, not a stage for performance. If you're constantly having to suppress your emotions, hide your dreams, or silence your desires just to maintain the connection, then that connection is not fostering mutual understanding or respect. Jung reminds us that the most important relationship we will ever have is the one we have with ourselves. If we don't respect ourselves, if we don't give ourselves permission to be who we truly are, it becomes almost impossible for anyone else to do so. It's time to start recognizing when a relationship begins to affect you in a deeply negative way. This doesn't mean that relationships should be conflict-free. Every relationship has its challenges. But if those challenges become a never-ending cycle of pain, if conflict becomes the default dynamic, if resolution feels like a distant dream, then you must begin to question the very foundation of that relationship. Letting go of something or someone that doesn't align with your truth doesn't mean you've failed. It means you've grown. It means you've chosen yourself. And that's one of the most powerful things you can ever do. Because the moment you return to your essence, the universe responds, not with chaos, but with clarity, not with loss, but with alignment. The people who are meant for you will feel like peace, not pressure. They will honor your boundaries, not challenge them. They will embrace your light, not ask you to dim it. This is what happens when you choose yourself. Everything around you begins to mirror that choice. Jung urged us to confront our shadows, not only within ourselves, but also in others. If you find yourself in a relationship that constantly makes you feel bad, that is not just a coincidence or a stroke of bad luck. It is an invitation from your unconscious mind, a wake-up call asking you to look beyond appearances and see the deeper truth of what is happening. Sometimes toxicity does not reveal itself in obvious ways. It does not always come in the form of direct insults, blatant manipulation, or unmistakable acts of betrayal. It can begin subtly, disguised as small manipulations, passive-aggressive remarks hidden beneath the mask of humor, or attitudes that seem insignificant at first glance. However, these seemingly minor things have a profound impact. Every time you accept something that does not feel right, no matter how small it may seem, you are giving permission, whether consciously or unconsciously, to be treated in that way. Jung encourages us to take control of our relationships, to stop being passive victims of circumstances, and to start making conscious choices. We hold the power to change the course of our lives by deciding what we will and will not tolerate. True emotional freedom is achieved when you allow yourself to say no. No to manipulation. No to disrespect. No to expectations that drain your energy and deplete your spirit. Freedom is not about changing others. It is about changing the way we relate to them. When you learn to set clear boundaries, when you grant yourself the permission to walk away from what does not nourish your soul, you will begin to feel a deep sense of liberation. This is the true healing that Jung spoke of. Taking control of our psyche, letting go of what limits us, and making space for what allows us to flourish. This is not about being selfish. It is about being true to yourself. By respecting yourself and refusing to let others harm you, you send a clear message to the universe. You are ready to heal, to grow, and to live in alignment with your true essence. Only when you act from a place of authenticity do you begin to attract what you truly deserve. The right people, those who align with your energy and respect your boundaries, will start to enter your life naturally. By releasing what no longer serves you, you make space for what truly complements you, supports you, and allows you to grow. At first, it may not be easy to identify what you need to let go of. You may find yourself entangled in a dynamic where love has become synonymous with tolerance, tolerating behaviors that drain you, diminishing your own worth in the process. But it is precisely in those painful moments that clarity emerges. When the pain becomes unbearable, when you feel emotionally exhausted, that is when the truth reveals itself. You must let go in order to find peace. Jung spoke of the importance of understanding our own wounds and recognizing how they shape our relationships. When we fail to heal these wounds, we inevitably attract situations that mirror our unresolved fears and desires. Have you ever felt like you are living for others? That your worth depends on what others think of you or what they do for you? This kind of relationship is unsustainable because it is not built on true connection. It is based on emotional dependency. Jung reminds us that true emotional freedom can only be found when we break free from this dependency and start living from our own essence. Only when you love yourself, when you respect yourself, and when you refuse to let others define your worth, can you establish relationships that are founded on reciprocity, respect, and authenticity. Relationships are not about finding someone to complete you. They are about finding someone with whom you can share your life, someone who respects your individuality, honors your dreams, and supports your personal growth. If you constantly find yourself compromising in relationships, sacrificing who you are just to please another, you are drifting further away from your true self. As Jung would say, it is only through the integration of the shadow, by accepting and acknowledging the parts of yourself that you fear, that you can become fully yourself in a relationship. This is where true connection is found, when you can be authentic without fear of judgment or rejection. When you ignore the boundaries of what you can tolerate, the damage you allow is silent but profound. The small acts of manipulation, the broken promises, the lack of empathy and respect, all of these accumulate over time, slowly wearing down your spirit, until one day you wake up feeling emotionally exhausted, wondering how you ended up in this place. But you are not powerless. You have the ability to change the narrative. You have the strength to redefine your relationships, to reclaim your power, and to choose a path of self-respect and authenticity. Healing begins with awareness. It starts the moment you recognize that you deserve more, that you deserve to be surrounded by people who uplift you rather than deplete you. The journey to self-discovery is not always easy, but it is necessary. It is in this journey that you learn to set boundaries, to walk away from toxicity, and to embrace a life where you are truly free to be yourself. Carl Jung teaches us that emotional well-being is deeply intertwined with our ability to recognize, establish, and protect our personal boundaries. It is not about becoming rigid, inflexible, or shutting people out of our lives. Rather, it is about being fully aware of what we need to preserve our mental and emotional health. Boundaries serve as a form of self-respect, a way of telling ourselves and others what we are willing to accept and what we are not. When we fail to uphold these boundaries, we risk becoming drained, lost, and disconnected from our true selves. A relationship that constantly demands everything from you while offering nothing in return, that exhausts you rather than replenishes you, is not love. It is a distraction from your true purpose in life. It is a cycle of emotional depletion that prevents you from fulfilling your potential. Jung emphasized the importance of recognizing recurring patterns in our relationships, particularly those that seem to trap us in cycles of pain and dissatisfaction. If you repeatedly find yourself drawn to relationships that leave you feeling unworthy, insufficient, or criticized, it may not be a coincidence. Instead, it could be the result of unresolved experiences from your past. These patterns are not accidental. According to Jung, they serve as opportunities for self-exploration and growth. They are invitations to examine the unhealed wounds within us and to finally address the aspects of ourselves that we have long ignored or suppressed. When you notice that the same issues keep arising in your relationships, it is crucial to pause and ask yourself, why am I drawn to these dynamics? What part of me still needs healing? What lessons am I avoiding? The moment you begin to heal your own wounds, the moment you stop blaming yourself for things beyond your control, and the moment you learn to set healthy boundaries, you create space for genuine, fulfilling connections. A true relationship, one rooted in mutual respect and understanding, does not require you to sacrifice who you are. Love should never feel like a battlefield. It should be a sanctuary, a space where two people uplift and support each other while remaining authentic to themselves. In this transformative process, self-love plays an indispensable role. Only when you learn to love and respect yourself can you attract and build a relationship that truly values who you are. A love that asks you to change, to shrink yourself, or to abandon your dreams is not love. It is control disguised as affection. Your journey is not about pleasing others at the cost of your own happiness, but about creating a life that aligns with your true essence. Life is not just about what happens to you. It is about how you choose to respond to what happens. Each relationship, each challenge, and each moment of discomfort offers an opportunity to learn more about yourself, to peel back the layers of your being, and to evolve into the person you are meant to become. When you let go of what no longer serves you, whether it be toxic relationships, harmful beliefs, or self-destructive habits, you reclaim your power. You create space for things that nurture you, that inspire you, and that help you grow into the best version of yourself. This journey of self-awareness and healing is not always easy. There will be times when you feel the temptation to revert to old patterns, to return to familiar yet unhealthy dynamics simply because they feel comfortable. But true transformation occurs when you choose to apply the lessons you have learned rather than repeating the cycles that no longer serve you. Growth requires courage. It demands that you break free from the illusion of security and step into the unknown. Sometimes, the path to becoming the best version of yourself requires making difficult decisions, letting go of people, habits, or circumstances that no longer align with your higher self. It is not about shutting doors, but about opening new ones. When you finally decide to stop tolerating what harms you, you are not limiting yourself. You are expanding your possibilities. You are stepping into a world where your energy is protected, your worth is acknowledged, and your life is filled with relationships and experiences that elevate you rather than diminish you. Life becomes clearer and lighter when you release what no longer serves you. Jung believed that the unconscious mind constantly guides us toward our true purpose, whispering hints and nudging us in the direction of our growth. Each time you make a decision that aligns with your authentic self, the universe responds. The pieces of your life start falling into place in a way that feels more natural, harmonious, and fulfilling. This is the beauty of healing, of choosing yourself, of stepping into your power. The more you embrace who you truly are, the more life aligns in your favor. The more you learn to set boundaries, to love yourself fully, and to walk away from what drains you, the closer you come to a life of true peace, fulfillment, and purpose. This is the moment to pause and reflect. Take a deep breath, clear your mind, and allow yourself the space to truly evaluate your relationships, both past and present. Think about the people who have been part of your journey. Have they helped you grow? Have they supported you in becoming the best version of yourself? If the answer is no, then it is time to look inward and understand why you continue to allow these dynamics in your life. When you become fully aware of what you truly deserve, when you genuinely grasp the fact that you do not have to tolerate what harms you, you will start attracting relationships that align with your authentic self. You will begin to draw people who uplift you, who inspire you, and who contribute to your happiness. It is crucial to understand that what you permit in your life is a direct reflection of how much you value yourself. Every relationship, every interaction, and every connection you maintain is an opportunity to strengthen your self-awareness and authenticity. By making the conscious decision not to tolerate what diminishes your well-being, you are not only protecting yourself, but also paving the way for a life filled with healthier, more enriching relationships that align with who you truly are. As you progress through this journey, you will realize that true love is not about making sacrifices or changing yourself to please others. Real love is built on mutual acceptance and respect. When you choose to free yourself from what drains your energy, you reconnect with an inner strength that enables you to attract people who genuinely resonate with your energy. And when this happens, inner peace becomes your guide, allowing you to build relationships that foster growth and support your journey toward becoming the best version of yourself. Now more than ever, it is essential to take the time for deep introspection. Ask yourself important questions. What relationships are you allowing to impact your life? What behaviors are you tolerating that are preventing you from moving forward? Are you surrounding yourself with people who support your personal growth? Or are you still allowing toxic dynamics to hold you back? Never forget that self-love and self-respect must be your top priorities. Only when you truly love yourself can you love others in a healthy way without losing yourself in the process. This is not about selfishness. It is about being aware of your emotional needs and understanding what you truly require to be at peace. It takes courage to look within, to acknowledge what needs healing, and to make the necessary decisions that bring you closer to the life you deserve. If this message resonates with you, and you believe it could help someone else, I invite you to share it. There may be someone in your life who needs to hear these words, someone who feels trapped in relationships that do not serve them. By sharing this video, you are not only helping that person, but you are also contributing to a community that seeks growth and authenticity. Furthermore, if you feel inspired by this message, I encourage you to leave a comment below. Tell me which part of this content impacted you the most, or how you are applying these principles in your own life. Your experience could be the inspiration someone else needs to make a significant change. And if you have not yet subscribed, I invite you to do so and activate the notification bell so that you do not miss more messages that can help transform your life. Every time you engage with this content, whether by commenting, sharing, or subscribing, you are helping this message reach more people who need to hear it. Remember, the path to an authentic life, free from toxic relationships, begins with the decision to set clear boundaries and take control of your well-being. You do not have to walk this path alone. There is a community here, ready to support you every step of the way. Together, we can create an environment where love, respect, and self-awareness are the foundations of all our relationships. Do not hesitate to join us and continue growing with us.